Welcome back to another episode of the 2024 NBA Draft Prospect Profiles here on the Field of 68, presented by Unified Healing. Today, Terrence Oglesby and myself, Rob Dauster, are going to be breaking down Baylor center Yves Missi, who was kind of an under-the-radar recruit and an under-the-radar ad when Scott Drew added him. But it took all of about 2 games for us to figure out, like, hey, this dude's going to be pretty good. He's 7 foot. He's got a 7'5" wingspan. He was a Big 12 all defensive team member. He is a superb athlete, explosive at the rim for his size, but he is a guy that shot 60% from the free throw line and finished the season averaging 10.7 points and 5.6 boards. He is, TL, what you would call a project.
I'm worried. This guy needs more college. I'm going to start out with that one. I appreciate his defensive impact. I understand he's a great athlete. The only problem you're going to run into with Yves Missi is you might not get him in his best days, because his best days are in that second and third contract. He's not even close to ready right now offensively. And he's got a long wingspan, all those measurables, sure, but it's almost like you're drafting him for the next team, because he's not there. He's not ready. He was never relied upon to be a decision maker at the top of the key, but he is what he is. And that's a role finisher, a good athlete, a long defender around the rim. And I don't want to blast him, because he averaged, 10-5 or 11-6 as a freshman. Those are good numbers. And he played alongside some really good guards at Baylor. But this is a guy that could use a little bit more polishing, and he's going to get some more polishing in the G League next year, because he's just not ready for the NBA level. And he's a kid right now that, as you watch some of his clips, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And that's what scares me more than anything, because you almost have to let him fall on his own sword just before they start listening. Mm-hmm. And he very much looked like one of those guys. There's a couple of times where he would catch the ball at the top of the key and he would just put his head down and try to make something happen off the bounce. Dude, you can't do that. He could barely do it in the Big 12. You're not going to be able to do it in the NBA. So where's your value offensively? It's as a lob threat and quick finisher around the rim. He's not ready yet. However, this is a potential versus production type of situation for him. And there's been guys that have been very much in his mold who get drafted, and I'm not going to say draft and stash, because because there's no more roster spots, they can keep him on the roster and put him on a two-way. But he's very much a guy that it's going to take him 2, 3, maybe even 4 years before you really start to scratch the surface. And if it's me, that makes me nervous, Rob, because he's not ready in the NBA. And I understand that I might just be working him out for him to play for the team next to me in my division. That scares me.
Yeah, the thing about him is he is very good when it comes to being a rim protector. He is very good when it comes to being a roll man, where you throw the ball above the square and you let him go get it, right? And he is someone that I think is probably better than he's gotten credit for in terms of being able to, like, take a couple slides with a point guard and keep them in front, right? I think that he's got pretty good feet. The problem is, when you get to the NBA, there's a lot of guys that can do all of those things that also, like, have a sense of what is happening on an NBA offense. Or if I put the ball down here and I dribble into this alleyway, it's probably not going to be a good thing, because there's going to be nothing for me to do on the other end.
This guy needs reps on top of reps on top of reps. He needs a hell of a G League coach. And he's got to be put in a position where he's going to be put in the NBA game. And I just,
here's a concern I have.
He should have gone back to school. He should have gone back to school.
Well, the only reason I would disagree is that he is now going to go out there. He's going to be a first round pick. When you have these kind of physical tools, someone's going to fall in love with you. You're probably going to end up getting picked in the first round, which means that he's probably going to find a way to make, like, a guaranteed, minimum $10 million over the next 4 years. Right. So it's, like, very hard for me to say, like, don't go get that money when you have an opportunity to go get that money. But here's a red flag to me. You know how we talk about assist to turnover ratio? He had a 3-to-1 turnover to assist ratio, and that
ain't good.
39 turnovers in 23 minutes as a 5-man that doesn't have the ball in his hands all that often is not a good sign. So I don't want to kill him too much. So let's get into the comparison.
I'm not trying to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kill him, but this is the reality of where the NBA is at right now.
Oh no,
Like
you're 100%.
you're rolling
right.
you're rolling dice right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pick where if you have basically expendable income, this is where like this is a high risk stock that you have a little bit of extra cash and you're just like, you know what, maybe.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
Look, so here's the thing. We'll get into the comparisons here because I think we all know what the number one answer here is for like what his best case scenario NBA comparison is. And that's Clint Capella, because every single time you have a guy that's 7 foot with a long wingspan that can be a
You
rim
love Clint
running
Capella.
switchable, like he's the easiest guy to compare to because he's the guy that had all of the success in that role and was kind of like one of the first guys in that role, right? But I think you also put in like a Robert Williams in that conversation, a Mitchell Robinson in that conversation. Like if Yves Missi ends up in his best case scenario, he's one of those guys, one of those players in that mold, right? But I think you also see a lot of guys in that mold that just don't live up to the level of expectation or aren't able to put it all together, like a Zeke Naji, like a Jericho Sims. Like there's a million of these dudes that are 7 foot with big wingspans and crazy athleticism that just can't figure it out offensively or defensively or anything beyond just like the physical aspect of the game to make it at the, like you have to be the top 1% of the top 1% athletes to do this stuff. But then there's enough of those guys where NBA teams aren't going to keep like 3 or 4 of them on a roster. So if you can't figure out the basketball side of it as well, then you're not going to be in for a long career in the league.
He's half Belgian, he's half French. So I'm going to 40% of the people in Belgium speak French. So I'm going to go with a French comparison. Ian Mahinmi is who he is. A backup 5 who can make an impact defensively. You better not ask him to do too much offensively, but he can make some money with some energy plays and make an energy block at the end of a game that's impactful because your center fouled out. To me, whenever I see a guy like this and all the tools are there, but he's so far away. Like this is not a guy who's going to make an impact for your franchise in 3 years. This is a guy who can make an impact for your franchise in year 5. And that's if you want to roll the dice and give him a second contract because you have all these other guys coming in. Like this is a competitive league to stay in. It's not the first contract, it's the second one. And he's not going to give you much in the first contract. That's what worries me more than anything. I do understand the temptation, but this is an expendable income guy. Late in the first round, midway through the second. That's where I'm even starting to consider him.
Mm-hmm. All right, listen, this has been the breakdown of Baylor center Yves Missi. If you do enjoy these breakdowns, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to follow along with the Field of 68. We are going to be doing a live mock draft for the full first round here about a week before the NBA draft actually happens. So for Terrence Oglesby, my name is Rob Dauster. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Whether you are a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. After a 6-month season loaded with cross-country travel, I can promise you that proper recovery is a priority for me these days. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of the Field of 68. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or the EE system. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in New Jersey or at one of the hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. If you're interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com/unified68 to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/UNIFYD, the number 6, the number 8. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or as a substitute for professional medical advice. diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE system.